What's going on, guys? The Arid Lords here. Welcome back to another video. I know, pretty consistent uploads from the one where I talked about the filming date for the Rick and Michonne series, which will be starting filming on January 2nd, as we found out, and should be coming out in the later parts of 2023, which is very exciting, of course, for me. Waiting on Rick's fate for a long ass time, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Hope it's longer than 6 episodes. I suppose that's something we can discuss further as more information on how long it actually is. When that information comes out, we can discuss it. But for now, we know that there's at least one 6 episode season. So whether the characters want to come back, we'll see if that happens. I actually wanted to. I was thinking some ideas for the channel. Actually, I've been thinking about maybe getting back into some of the vlogs, trying to get some discussion stuff going. There's some fun videos that I want to make featuring some of my friends from some footage that we did earlier in the year, so like March 2022, like way back. It's kind of like lost footage, and I wanted to put it together and put that up for you guys. So that'll be kind of like a Christmas bonus. I'm going to show them because I know they'll be happy with it, because I don't think they knew the footage existed. More on that later, but to jump into the topic for this video, if you guys remember way back in 2019, I mean, this is like 3 years ago. This is back, I was getting my groove with the channel again. Remember, I had stopped doing reaction videos for a period of time once Season 9 started. I did them seasons 6, 7, 8, 3 seasons in a row, and then I stopped doing them into Season 9. And just did like review vlogs. Wasn't really feeling it. And then I did do a reaction for Rick's final episode. And then when the Whisper stuff started, I got back into it, and it was like, okay, like there was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of different people buzzing around my channel. I remember the Head Pike sequence with Alpha, like that was almost like the Lucille lineup part 2 in a sense. And so there was almost like a holy shit. Red Wedding type of scene for The Walking Dead, and the Whispers were just good villains, and Angela Kang was doing a good job, and I feel like the show hit a second peak. It had its peak, in season 5 with No Sanctuary. It hit its highest peak when Negan was revealed, and there was the cliffhanger with who got their heads bashed in. Things went kind of down from there. People felt it was stagnant. And then I feel when Angela Kang took over, Rick left, a lot of things changed, a lot of characters left the show, Carl was killed off, there were a lot of dynamics that changed, and I think the Whisperers went back to The Walking Dead's roots of horror, and I think people really liked that, and it was efficient for a period of time, and I think the show declined again. COVID also had something to do with that. And season 11, again, like I've said this in a couple of vlogs, like I felt like the season was cut short, especially the Commonwealth storyline. I really felt that they could have done more with the person you're seeing right now, Lance. I felt like they could have done way more with Lance's character. I thought he was killed off in a stupid way. I felt there was a lot of time wasted with the Reapers. I don't know why we spent all the time with the Reapers. We were still dealing with the Commonwealth, but not as much. Like, that entirety of season 11 should have been the Commonwealth. I don't understand. The Reapers did nothing. All they did was connect us to Leah, and then, Leah stole the Commonwealth supplies that sets off the whole chain of events. So they literally just used one of the Reapers as a catalyst to then continue doing, to continue and ignite the Commonwealth storyline, and why Lance gets so frustrated and some of the confrontations that happen from there. So, yeah, back in my original point was that I used to have a series called What If. Now, this is just a fictional hypothetical scenario because we've seen formidable foes in the show, really, robust villains, incredible main characters, as we know, Michonne, Rick, Gabriel at his peak, Aaron at his peak, Daryl. I mean, the list goes on, right? And not just from current times, but even before, all the characters that have died off as well. So I used to pit groups against each other and talk about the ramifications if would they actually beat each other in like a head to head. This is kind of like a street fighter, right? If you were to pick Lance and the Commonwealth versus Negan and the Saviors, who wins that battle, you know? And so I did this with the Whisperers and the Saviors. I said, this was a previous vlog I made 3 years ago, and I'll actually leave the links to those videos in the description. I might make like a playlist. I mean, I know it's referencing, these videos were made, back in 2019, but they're still relevant. They're still relevant to the history of the show. So I'll put them in the description. And yeah, I did a couple. Like I did one for the Wolves versus the Whisperers, and the Whisperers versus the Saviors. I don't know if I ever did one for like the Governor and Woodbury. I don't know if I went that far back. I think I was just keeping it to like all the Virginia, like anything from season 5 upwards. I was keeping it all like the Virginia. Ever since Rick's group like moved up to Virginia with Noah when they went to Shire Wilt Estates, and then they were doing all of that stuff afterwards that got them into Alexandria. Wasn't really including, because I could do though. Those are other groups because Terminus. Those are really the two other big ones. Really the only other ones. Terminus and then the Governor's group under Woodbury. Or maybe just the Governor's second group that he has in season 4 with the tank and that rogue group of survivors that he uses to attack the prison once and for all. So yeah, the topic of this one, I thought this would be a really cool one. And now it's one that we can do because now we've seen the TV show adaptation of the Commonwealth. This was more difficult to do 3 years ago because the Commonwealth had not been adapted to TV at that time. We were still dealing with the Whisperers. So now that we've seen all of the Commonwealth in the main Walking Dead show, and we've seen all of the Saviors as well, this is a scenario. What would happen if the Commonwealth, because this was a possibility if you really think about it, because the Commonwealth existed when Negan was at his peak with the Saviors, when Negan had right before Rick attacked the satellite station in season 6, we had the Saviors at their most powerful. We had them multiple outposts. They were subjugating both the kingdom and the hilltop. They hadn't come across Alexandria yet, which is, I guess, kind of surprising. I guess just, because you'd also think like Aaron and Eric were searching for survivors in the area. And that's how they found Rick and brought them to Rick's group and brought them to Alexandria. So it's like, well, how would Aaron and Eric not have discovered the kingdom, the hilltop, or the Saviors, or even the junk group? I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, there's a bunch of groups. Now, of course, I don't know what the geography of all of this looks like. We're talking about, the state of Virginia. It's obviously fictional geography, so I'm not sure how far everyone is from other things. We did get a sense of geography. The episode where they're trying to get Maggie to Hilltop when she's having the baby complications, that's the episode Negan's introduced in. We see them trying to take multiple routes with the RV to get there. So we get a sense that there is distance. Maybe Aaron and Eric didn't want to make giant leaps and strides to places far, far away. They wanted to just look within a radius so they could get back home. We do know that the Commonwealth is in Ohio. It's in Toledo, Ohio. That was in the comics as well. So they kept it the same in the show. So that's about, if you Google Maps it, that's 7 hours to Virginia. So that is a viable excuse for why why the Commonwealth didn't know anything about any of the groups. So they're in a totally different state than anything that was going on from seasons 5 to 9. But, I would have to imagine that, this would not be as a decided fight as we think. Now, I don't know how many people Negan had total. When he had the height of the Saviors, like I said, right before Rick attacked the satellite station, and Negan had all of his lieutenants, Simon and Gavin, and just, Arat, Regina, I mean, you could even think about, some of the other saviors that were involved. The guy that stops Daryl on the road with the motorcycles, that guy Bud, which I guess is his confirmed name, the guy that was saying to, eat shit and not nibble it, which I really wish they kept that guy longer. He almost had like mini Negan vibes. I loved his character for that sequence with the motorcycles where Daryl blows them up. Like that's why I've been advocating for a savior prequel show, because you had so many great characters. Like all of the I mean, there were a ton of them. There were more savior characters than there were Commonwealth characters. And that's insane, because the Commonwealth has 50,000 plus people. And I know for a fact that the Savior does not have that many people. They just don't. I mean, they are basically Mad Max warlords compared to the Commonwealth, which is a mini government. The Commonwealth is a sliver of society that, in a sense, has almost been captured in a time capsule, and they're trying to keep that going. They have an economy. There's the whole situation with them saving the money. Freaking Sebastian was sending people to their doom just so he could get, more money because his credit line got cut off. Like, there's concepts from the world before the apocalypse, and they work within those rules to reconstruct society, but under a system that works for them. Sorry, this cold season, I do have a bit of a cold. But the Saviors don't work like that. The Saviors, their system is it's a cult. They're all Negan. It's like, I'm Negan, he's Negan, he is Negan. Like, everyone's Negan. They kneel for Negan. It was a cult. It was a cult. It was Mad Max warlords. Like, it was just, like, we saw, as much as Negan said that they were saviors and they were saving people, like, the problems happened because the system could be abused. It was all about power. It was all about power if you had more influence over someone than someone else. And it was just a big bully mentality. And as much as like, oh, we're saving these people, like, you're subjugating them. And of course they don't want to abide. It's basically like, you serve us or you're going to get hurt. Now, the Commonwealth did not conquer. They only took territories as they saw fit. I think Lance wanted to conquer when he threw the banners over Hilltop Alexandria. Like, when he got to the point where he did want to conquer those territories, I think that's when he saw that this was almost like an imperialistic empire he could keep to himself. I don't know. Like, before Eugene was talking to Stephanie on the radio, I don't believe the Commonwealth was like, they were very much to themselves. They weren't really going out and seeking new groups, seeking to bring people in, because you saw how rigorous the process was for bringing anyone on board. Like, the interview process, you saw that they were asking about, like, medical history, what your former occupation was. Like, all of the stuff from the old society mattered quite a bit. And that could be a deciding factor. And we didn't really see that. Like, obviously our group, the initial group, like Eugene's initial group, they made it past the checkpoint and obviously got into the Commonwealth. We never saw a failed interview, like someone who like had a disease, or maybe they were just too far gone, and like the Commonwealth's like, all right, we don't want this baggage. You're not cut out. You failed. We're going to just throw you back into the wasteland, as they call it. They call it the wasteland, So it's just so different. And that is one thing that bugs me, that we never got a sense of scope with the Commonwealth, because it is massive. Towards the end of season 11, like when the gates get breached by the walkers, we do see a bit of a pan out and a bit of perspective of how large the Commonwealth is, because it's huge. But there's only a few set pieces, like the town square and inside the train station. Like there's not many. Like I think it was just, due to COVID and filming and the budget, they didn't have the ability to have something like that was just insanely large. But like it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that this is a society that is 50,000 plus. But like, it doesn't sometimes feel like that, but it is. So that gets factored in, how large is their army. We'll just take that number, and however large the army of the Commonwealth is with their protective gear. But yeah, how would Negan have handled it? I guess that's another question that stems from this. If Negan came across the Commonwealth, like he sees these guys decked out. I mean, like that's, you know, that's a little foreboding, right? I know the white armor is not as scary as maybe the CRM. The CRM's like all black outfit. Like that's a lot more foreboding. But I know the Commonwealth with the white with the red stripes isn't, you know, maybe as foreboding. But still, I mean, it's heavy armor. These guys, you know, they all seem to. I don't know if you've noticed, they all seem to wield the same gun. It's like the single shot Scar rifle from. It's almost like from Modern Warfare 2. We see a couple of close ups, like the fight in the junkyard between Daryl, Gabriel, and Aaron when they're fighting those soldiers. We see some close up shots on the single fire, like the gun, and it all seems to be the same gun. I don't know if they manufacture the same gun and just reissue it like it's a standard issue rifle for all Commonwealth soldiers, or that seems to be the case. But yeah, I think Negan, I don't know if it's a fight he would have wanted to get into, because I feel like maybe Simon would have talked him into it. Simon would have been like, yeah, we need to just go to war with these people. Like they've got like, essentially Simon would see it as a gold mine, right? We know Simon was a little loopy in the head. He is the one that killed all of the Oceanside men. So he was the perfect example of going rogue from the Savior's mission. You know, just kill one or two people to send a message. No, Simon was like, screw everything. Like if something went slightly wrong or someone, you know, went against the grain, like Simon freaking lost his shit. So I think Simon would have seen the Commonwealth as a huge gold, like a gold mine, a literal fucking gold mine that they could just suck all of the riches from. And I think he would have wanted the entire force of the Saviors to go to war. I don't know if Negan would have necessarily wanted that, though. I think Negan would have been like, he would have maybe had them do guerrilla tactics. Like, he probably would have said, like, let's try to trap some of their soldiers. Let's try to take out some battalions just to test out their numbers and see how skilled they are in combat. He probably would have done, like, no, just poking the bear to see how strong, like, the strength of the Commonwealth army. And I think as soon as Pamela / Lance got, you know, any whiff of you know, outside, you know, forces kind of poking at their gates, I think they definitely would have, you know, pushed back immediately. That's unfortunately something we never saw. That's one thing I complained about when I was doing the vlog with Jeff, the Walking Dead world. The CRM and the Commonwealth never interacting, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, you talk about, okay, the Commonwealth, in this scenario, the Saviors and the Commonwealth, they're 7 hours apart. They're in totally different states. It makes sense that Negan and the Saviors would not expand their reach that far. They already control the Hilltop Kingdom. Like, they've already got some outposts and territories within the Virginia region. Like, they've got their empire, in a sense. You know, like, I think maybe in the years that would follow, maybe they would look to expand. But, like, they've got a territory that they need to manage, right? And they have producers. Like, the Hilltop and the Kingdom produce food, livestock. Like, they get resources from these people and their own people who work at the Sanctuary. But the CRM, man, like, they are a big, like, they're 200,000 plus people, and they have the Triple Alliance with the Nebraska, Portland territories, everything we learned from World Beyond about who they actually are, because this is going to be the focal group. You know, it is the group that took Rick, and it is obviously going to be the central conflict of maybe not just this. I don't know. It'll probably be a conflict in the Daryl show. Most likely. Obviously, it's going to be the focus of the Rick show. I don't know about the Negan Maggie show. I don't know. Maybe they would think it's overkill if the CRM just keeps appearing in all the spin-off shows. Maybe they like, okay, we have it covered. But, like, can you make the Negan Maggie show compelling enough without the central villain that, you know, is connecting all the universes together? I don't know the answer to that. But that is frustrating that they never interacted, because they should have. I mean, and there was all sorts of hints, you know, Designation 2, which we never got a freaking answer on. Somehow, I don't understand how the show ended and they never talked about Designation 2, the place Connie almost went before they rescued her. And then, Lance, when he's talking to Pamela, does insinuate that, there were alliances that they were trying to maintain and that him going away would affect that. So, I wonder, like, they seem to have a good grasp on the politics of kind of like how everything works. And, I feel like Mercer, I mean, you want to talk, I mean, Mercer in combat versus like Simon and some of the saviors. I mean, that would be, oh my goodness gracious. Can you imagine Mercer and an army of Commonwealth soldiers versus like the force versus the entire force of Negan and the saviors and because I mean, you had some good tacticians. Simon was a nutcase. But Negan was very tactical strategist. Even Gavin was more of a pragmatist. So like between Negan and his lieutenants, you had some brain power there. And so I think they would have, rather than just being, crazy, balls to the walls, because you see how well coordinated they were when they trap Rick in that season 6 finale when everything goes to shit. That's very well planned out, like bringing the trees down in the road. They, tie up the walkers with pieces of the people they knew, like the arrows and the, Michonne's hair. They tie them up on the chain. They have all the roadblocks. Like, it's very coordinated. So this is a group that when they want to, make a tactical scenario, they do it, So, I think it would be one of the best fights. I mean, I know All Out War was the peak of violence in the show, and some people complained about the cinematography of how some of the shots looked. I do agree to an extent, but there's no denying that it would be an insanely fun, cool gunfight. Who would win? Probably the Commonwealth. Why do I say that? Just their numbers. I mean, they have more. I'm 50. I mean, even at the height of Negan's power, I'm pretty sure the 50,000 of the Commonwealth could overtake them. And I don't know if the Commonwealth, we saw them with military jeeps and stuff. I don't know if they have like, tanks and, like actual heavier firepower than just soldiers with assault rifles. I don't know, like, what other because we didn't see that really, They had explosives and stuff like that, so they definitely were, very well outfitted and prepared. But, I'm basing this off of pure numbers. I think the Commonwealth would win, just off of sheer numbers alone. It's the same reason I think the CRM would beat the Saviors. The CRM just, helicopters and the soldiers with the armor, they can't get bit by the walkers, the little chewy piece. Like, they show that in the Fear the Walking Dead episode with Isabel, where she gets bit, but the cloth, the material doesn't let the walker bite through it. So, advantages like that. And the soldiers, we've seen, it's weird, like, they have the armor, but there are plenty of circumstances, like, we've seen some scenes in season 11 where the walkers just devour the soldiers just like through their armor, and it's like, well, if this armor isn't really stopping bullets, because it seems like it, that it can take a few shots, like when Aaron shoots that crazy guy, the Commonwealth soldier, the ex-CIA agent who just goes batshit crazy and kills all those people. He shoots him like 4 times with a pistol, and the armor, the force of it propels him off the building, but like the bullets don't like kill him. So the armor, is shielding him like a bulletproof vest. So like, the armor would protect against bullets, mildly protect against the walkers, one would assume. I know there's plenty of scenes where they get devoured, but you got to give them baseline protection. The Saviors don't have that. The Saviors don't have armor. The Saviors are just dudes with shirts and guns. Like, they're just, like gang members. They're just bros, right? And so it's like, okay, can a organized political military take down a bunch of gang thugs? So I think the answer is yes. So that's why I am going with the Commonwealth winning the skirmish between Negan at his full power versus Pamela, Lance, and the Commonwealth at their full power. So yeah, That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll probably try to do more of these in the future. This was a fun one to do. But yeah, let me know if you have any ideas for vlogs. Again, I know, and I'm going to make a longer channel update for you guys in the coming days. I'm going to make it on the 27th because that's my 12-year channel anniversary, and I want to talk about like what the state of the channel is, where I think things are going. Just, because there's a lot of things up in the air for me in my life, things I'm trying to do. I still work full time, but I've got some other side projects in the works that have like a social influencer, like, there's a whole like social piece to them, and it might involve this YouTube channel. It might involve another YouTube channel. I'm not sure. There's a lot of decisions I have to kind of make there. But like this channel exists, it has a lot of content, and so I don't want to just abandon it. Like the fact that this streak of this channel is going on for as long as it has is an incredible thing, and I don't want to stop that. So I originally my plan was to just not do vlogs after the series finale of the main show, but maybe I would have made that decision if there were no spin-offs. If The Walking Dead was just done in its tracks, no more content forever, done, finale, done, then maybe I would have done that. But the fact that we have 3 spin-off shows, and Fear the Walking Dead, like The Walking Dead is still has zillions of hours of content, it seems, even though the finale happened. It's just like the AMC promo. The end is just the beginning. So we're in for more stories, more stories. And I know Gimple has said this, that he's the AMC Universe master, and this is AMC's cash cow, right? Like, this is how they want, like, it's their biggest show. Even though it ended, they see this being capitalized for years. So I don't know how long, but, they need these shows to do well, and they need to think of other ideas. So, that's why I'm like, hey, the universe is still going. I'll still stick with it. So, but I'll talk about the entirety of that discussion in a future vlog. But thank you guys for sticking with me thus far, and let me know what you would, how do you think a Commonwealth Savior interaction would go? And yeah, we can take things from there. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you later.